Israel has ordered the evacuation of 30 border villages in southern Lebanon as its military pushes forward with what it's calling targeted ground raids in the area. Let's bring in NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel live from the southern city of Tyre. Richard, what does it look like there?
Well, already you can see that streets are starting to empty out. Israel has ordered these mass evacuations, more than 30 villages specifically, and told Lebanese people not to come below the Litani River. We are now below the Litani River in their vehicles. And a lot of streets are starting to look like this. There are very few people out. People are nervous. There is an ominous feeling now that this war could escalate really at any moment.
Israel's ground incursion into Lebanon is underway. A cross-border drive to attack Hezbollah on its own terrain. U.S. officials tell NBC News Israel informed the Biden administration ahead of time, describing the operation as short, days, not weeks, and limited in its geographic reach.
I want to make it clear. Our war is with Hezbollah, not with the people of Lebanon.
U.S. officials tell NBC News the administration is concerned Israel's operation could expand. And this morning, the Israeli military issued an ominous warning, telling Lebanese not to travel in vehicles south of the Litani River, suggesting a large part of southern Lebanon could become an open war zone. Israel says its goal is to create a buffer zone free of Hezbollah from the Litani River to the Israeli border to prevent the Iranian-backed militia from using the area to launch attacks against Israel.
We've just crossed into southern Lebanon, the area that Israel hopes to make its buffer zone. Almost no one is heading south. All the traffic we're seeing are vehicles, motorcycles heading north.
And this morning, Hezbollah fired more rockets at Israel. Hezbollah claims to have 100,000 fighters. Independent analysts say the actual number may be closer to half of that. Still, a major, dedicated force dug in on its own terrain with years of preparation. But Israel has weakened Hezbollah significantly, killing the group's leader, decimating its chain of command, and booby-trapping its communications. Prime Minister Netanyahu has said he sees this war as part of a larger battle against all of Iran's proxies in the Middle East. Yesterday, he addressed the Iranian people directly.
There is nowhere in the Middle East Israel cannot reach. There is nowhere we will not go to protect our people and protect our country.
Hezbollah's deputy leader vowed the group will emerge victorious.
Willie, the Pentagon has said it is sending thousands of reinforcements and squadrons of fighter jets. And there is that feeling here I was talking about, that ominous feeling that this war could escalate. So far, both Israel and Hezbollah say they haven't engaged in any direct combat. It seems that the Israelis went in. They're staying very close to the Israel-Lebanon border for now. People are afraid that the war could escalate. They're leaving this area. It seems that Israel went in, tried to see if they could pull out Hezbollah, draw them into an open fight. But at this stage, it doesn't seem that Hezbollah took the bait. But these are still early days.
So, Richard, what would that escalation that, as we've heard also from officials that they fear so much, what would that escalation potentially look like? Is Iran actually ready, not through its proxies, but face-to-face to have a confrontation with Israel?
It seems unlikely at this stage that Iran would engage. Iran didn't respond after the assassination of a Hamas leader in Tehran, even though it promised to. Iran has continued to say that it will respond at a time and place of its choosing. Even Hezbollah at this stage doesn't seem like it wants to confront the Israeli military when the Israeli military is on the move. It's aggressive. It has the U.S. military behind it. What Hezbollah, it seems to be, and this is a bit of speculation, but when you listen to what the Hezbollah is saying is they would rather draw the Israelis in, draw them into a ground war, engage them in a long guerrilla fight. But Hezbollah has taken a lot of blows recently. Its command and control structure has been badly damaged. It still has many fighters. But an escalation at this stage, potentially involving Iran, seems unlikely. More likely, it seems that it would be a full Israeli push deep into southern Lebanon, deep into the area where I am right now, and then engaging the tens of thousands of Hezbollah fighters who say they are ready to confront them. Willie?
NBC's Richard Engel reporting live from southern Lebanon. Thank you, Richard, and please stay safe there on the ground. We appreciate it as always. Claire, it has been stunning for the last couple of weeks what Israel has been able to do to Hezbollah, whether it's putting bombs in their pockets effectively with their phones and their pagers and their walkie-talkies, or taking out Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, a long time, directly in a strike there, and now putting troops on the ground. Where do you see this headed?
Good question. I think there won't probably be any kind of shift until after our elections, and I'm not sure there will be then. I remember going to Israel for the first time as a member of the Armed Services Committee, and my visit there was all about their military. And I remember thinking, these are folks that live in a very dangerous neighborhood, but they are really preparing. The level of training in their military, the level of their intelligence capability, really unsurpassed in that area of the world. They are really good at this. And you see what they've done using that intelligence, taking out the leadership, the command and control before they try to create a buffer. It's very strategic, and frankly has probably given Netanyahu a little bit of a lifeline politically, at least for the immediate future.
Yeah, the strength of the Israeli intelligence so on display in the last week or so, again, makes the failures of October 7th that much more mystifying. Senior White House officials tell me last night there's at least a possibility, they think, that Iran may do some sort of face-saving measure here, maybe like they did in April, like a somewhat telegraphed rocket strike that was sort of fairly easily picked out of the air by the Iron Dome, supported by U.S. assets in the area. But they do believe there's a real reluctance for Iran to escalate much further, because if they were to draw Israel into a full war, though there would be certainly calamity for the region, there's a real sense that Israel, with the U.S.'s support, that would be potentially regime ending for Iran. That's not a fight they want to pick.
And President Biden saying again yesterday, along with Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, they support Israel's right to defend itself, but want to continue diplomatic pursuit of some kind of a ceasefire there.